Hi, I've been running my own personal training business from a container gym for the last 4.5 years, training around 35 to 40 clients every week. In this video, I'm going to tell you what's worked, what hasn't, and what I would do differently if I were to start again. Can you give us a quick overview of your container gym and how long you've been using it? So, I bought the container gym in the midst of lockdown. So we're talking, I had it delivered October 2021. So coming up for 5 years this October. Cost me around £22,000, including equipment inside. And I got a couple of grants at the time to include an awning over the top from a European grant, which was good. It's a 20-foot high cube shipping container. It's what we call our Pod 20 now, and it enables me to train comfortably in there with up to 2 other people in the winter with the doors closed. What made you decide to set up your own container gym in the first place? Well, before lockdown, I was paying a substantial figure to rent their floor space so that I could operate as a personal trainer and use their gym. This also gave me access to a small office room, which was great for client inductions and some personal space with which to run my business. Lockdown happened and we had to train outdoors. So I went completely mobile. The gym was shut. I went completely mobile and operated from the back of my pickup truck under gazebos and floodlights and heaters and all sorts we could, just to make sure we were complying with the rules, but also operational. And that summer, I really realized that I needed my own place. It was time to find my own place and split from the gym. What were you doing before that, and what problem were you trying to solve? So yeah, before that, I was obviously at the gym. I was paying a lot of rent. It wasn't my own place. It had its limitations. It wasn't private, which for my clientele was a big issue. It wasn't the nicest of places, particularly sort of, again, for my clientele. And in terms of progress, I needed my own place to have my own equipment, to set it out the way I wanted to best serve my customers. How has running a gym from a container compared to renting a commercial space? Well, I own my gym. I have an asset, which is great. I was able to kit it out to the exact specifications and choose the exact equipment I wanted. I was able to place the container gym in a fantastic location on a farm, in a field, close to amenities like toilets, etc., with the most stunning view and just outside a popular town. So it gives my clients privacy as well, which is really important. And a lot of my clients are the type of client that is off-put. Gyms are off-putting because they are busy and crowded and not personal. So that's really what set me apart, I think. Roughly how many clients have you been able to train from it each week? Post-lockdown, I lost a lot of my clients. I went online also a bit, actually. I lost a lot of my clients. So I had to kind of rebuild my business. I rebranded the Energy Coach as well at the same time, developed a website. So I sort of started again. And I've been running 35 to 40 clients in the gym every week for the last 4.5 years. And actually the container gym's in pretty good nick given the amount of time I've been in there. Could I have trained a lot longer? Yes. I decided to run my personal training business as a lifestyle business. So I pick and choose the hours I want to work that fits with my lifestyle. If I wanted to be a slave to my work, and I could have been doing 60, 70 hours in there. No worries. Has it actually been financially worth it? Well, yes, I got the financial outlay originally of just over £20,000. I've been paying rent to my landlords, so where I place the gym, which is, a few £100s, and that includes services as well, against having to pay the rent in the commercial gym I was in. Yes, yeah, for sure. And to know that my costs are fairly fixed, that in the commercial gym, I was never 100% sure whether I would be subject to sharp rental increases. So yeah, I feel more financially secure and stable in my current situation, knowing that, I'm paying relatively a small amount compared to what I possibly would have been. Also, I'd like to say, given that had I set up my own shop, gym, village or town shop gym right in the town centre or out on an industrial estate, the overheads will have been extortionate, definitely 4 figures or more. So you're talking a big risk for, I would say, not much more reward, if I'm honest. Day-to-day reality. What's it actually like training clients in that space day by day? So in the commercial gym, you're there, you can walk over to the functional area of the gym, you can go down to the cardiovascular, you can go to the stretch zone, you can go to the high rocks equipment. It's all spread out. So you're walking around quite often. I used to train up to 3 people at one time. So I'd be walking around all over the place. In the container gym, you're in a 6 meter by 2.5 meter space. If we open the doors, we've got a similar size decking outside. So it's a sort of 6 by 6 square to work within. So the equipment has to be well thought out. You have to be, when you're training your clients, particularly 2 or 3 clients at a time, you have to make sure that everyone has got something to use. So the programming can be done in preparation. So I always do my programming in preparation, but then on the day you might have to adapt because some equipment might be being used by one of your other clients or the order with which you do. But it works fine. It works fine. You have to be organized. You have to be a neat and tidy personal trainer too. In a small space, you can't afford to be leaving things out because it just gets messy and crowded. So you do something, you do the required sets and reps, it goes straight back onto the wall. Sometimes I take the thing down, we do the exercise, I put it back, only to realize the next person needs to use it, which is a bit annoying, but there we go. How many people can realistically train in there at once? Well, I like 2 to 1, 2 clients to myself. I think that's a great number. I can spend a good amount of time with each of them. I understand now in personal training that small group PT is a really big thing. So 4 to 6, not in my size container, that doesn't work. But in terms of the profitability, it's still great because I'm not paying big overheads that you might do. So I'm probably pocketing a greater percentage of those 2 clients compared to training 4 or 6 and not getting quite as big percentage because there are other costs involved. So I would always go with 2. Certainly in the summer, you could do small group. But yeah, in that 20-foot container, it's 2 at a push, at the max. How do you make the most of the space you've got? Well, as I said, I make sure everything's put away. The equipment I've got, it can be stored on the wall as much as possible so that we've got as an ample amount of free floor space. When it's lovely outside, let's get outside. Let's open the bifold doors up. Let's get onto the decking. Use the outside space, be in nature, be in the sunshine, get some fresh air. So we often use the inside and the out, and I can bring equipment from the inside of the gym to the decking and use outside. So the honest downsides, what are the biggest limitations of a container gym? Well, size. It is still compact and small. You can't expand. I couldn't take on 2 or 3 other personal trainers to work with me at the same time. So I am limited unless I expand and do a pod 60 container gym. Or, I mean, the way of maximizing and getting around that is to find personal trainers that can come in and use the gym when you're not there. So it's always being used. You get the maximum amount of hour usage out of it each day. But yeah, that's a limitation. It can get a little bit cold first thing. It can get too hot. Air conditioning could take over. I don't have air conditioning in mine. I've thought about it in the past. We just about get away with it. I have a small portable heater that takes the edge off in the mornings in the winter. And then in the summer, we have big fans and we keep the doors well open. And we try not to train sort of midday, 1-2 o'clock-ish. What mistakes did I make early on? Well, one of the big mistakes is that a lot of my equipment is bolted to the wall. And to secure it to the wall, I put the bolts through the steel container itself. So they're bolted all the way through the ply. So there's a section of sort of a gap, if you like. You've got the ply surface and you've got the outside skin. There's a bolt all the way through. Now, of course, that bolt on the outside, there's a possibility for water ingress. You've ruined the container's ability to be watertight. So our pod 20s now, we don't do any drilling. We don't break that external surface at all, where you still keep things fixed to the wall. We use internal fixings for that kind of thing. So that was you learn with your mistakes. Yeah, and making sure, I'd say the other mistake I made was not getting the floor quite level, so that the bifold doors, when they come back, they're the frame twists slightly and they get caught a little bit. That was a bit of a mistake of mine. Some of the equipment selection, but I've soon made good of that by selling what I didn't use and adding in the next bit. So there's everything I use and everything in the gym is used frequently, and I take a review on that. And if I'm not using something, I think what better piece of equipment could I use for that space? And we'll try, we'll get the new bit of equipment. What challenges did you not expect when you started? One of the biggest stresses and challenges was originally, first thing you've got to do is find yourself a site before you even order your container gym. You've got to find a site. You've got to get an agreement in place with the landlord. Contractual would be ideal. You've got to make sure that services could get to it, like electricity. There's parking. There's amenities for people. You've got to make sure it's private land and that the landowner is in agreement with that. So one of the challenges, that was a big challenge. The other challenge was when my first landlord decided they didn't want me there anymore. So then you're like, right, crap, what do I do? I've got this big container I need to move. I need to find somewhere within the next 3 months. That could be a challenge. Where could I go? How far away from home do I have to look? Thankfully, I found somewhere quite local. You've got to be resourceful. You've got to think outside of the box when you're thinking of places and locations. There are lots of people now looking for more sources or streams of income. Private landowners, for example, might be interested. A client of mine has a small farm. He was very interested in having me there. I'm not going to take up much room, and I can pay a handsome sum for that little bit of land. Lessons and improvements. If you were starting again, what would you do differently? I wouldn't drill through the skin of the container, that's for sure. We can now supply the containers with almost like a plastered wall finish using MDF and a high quality paint. So I'd plaster them and make it white. My one on the inside is MDF. Is ply. So you've got that wood effect. I think a nice white or even like a black wall with some other better lighting would be better. So I'd certainly do that. I would probably at the time get some air conditioning. Then it would be just golden in there all year round. What would you upgrade or change about your current setup? Or what have I been thinking? So I have a retractable awning that comes out. It was a European grant I got for that awning to be able for me to carry on during COVID. So I was training outside underneath the awning. My clients were inside the gym, so we were separated, which worked fine. I would like to have a bigger covered area outside, which I've tried to do, but it hasn't quite worked. So it enables me to just get out of the gym in the sort of not so great weather when it's drizzling and things. I am a fair weather trainer. In essence, my clients and myself would rather not be face down in a muddy field. That's how we exercise. I prefer to keep it nice and dry, warm, comfortable, so I can coach them correctly on technique. They have the right kind of equipment. The flooring is, the surface is good. They feel comfortable in their environment. So that's me basically. Who's it for? Who do you think a container gym is perfect for? Well, speaking from a personal trainer's perspective, if you're currently in a commercial gym, my advice to you, if you're thinking of going independent, would be to start picking up some clients on the side. And the summer is a perfect time to start that. You can start to train them in the park. And as you pick up your side business, your side hustle, there'll be a breaking point when you think, right, I can really go for this. You don't have to take out a massive bank loan or have a huge amount in savings to start your own business with the container gym. You need 20 to 30 grand. That's it. You don't need enough money to kit out a proper shop front. The overheads will not be there, So it's a really good step. And if I would say it's nearly every personal trainer's dream, ego-based dream, to have a private training studio on a really nice high street. Yeah. Drop the ego and make more money at the same time. Have a container, put it up in a beautiful location where you won't be, and you can earn some really good money, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours in there. The going rate round where I am is £60 an hour. If you're training 2 at the time, it's £80. So you do the math. It's a good business. What impact has it had on your business and life? Well, I've been able to have a really wicked lifestyle around my business, and I always pride myself on being disciplined enough not to be a slave to my work. So I've been able to, being independent and running my own business, I've been able to dictate my hours and find clients to fit within those hours. So yeah, I'm sure my kids, it's great because I'm always around for my children in the evenings and the afternoons. I pick them up from school. I make them tea. I can go and see their after school activities. I'm here around at the weekends. And I know that's going to have a big important part to play in their lives and how they grow. And who is it probably not right for? Well, as I said before, if you're really keen on doing small group training, it's probably not the size for you unless you go for that bigger Pod 60. The Pod 60 comes with its own limitations. So that's 3 containers sandwiched together to make a square room. It's logistically much harder to move because you've got to separate those, you've got to protect them, and you've got to take 3 containers to a new site. It's bigger, so it's going to need a bigger site. So I think if you're a personal trainer that's got the site set on expanding into doing these small groups, and this could be an option apart from, going into a bigger studio or a industrial estate, might not be for you. But if you're a personal trainer who wants to see 1 to 2 clients at a time, at any one time, and wants to have that outdoor indoor feel in a beautiful location, it's ideal. Probably not best suited if you're in a city environment either, because you're going to find it difficult to find a space to site this container gym. Likewise, if you're a PT who really loves all the latest equipment, you've GHD and you've got your leg press and all the other bits, that becomes quite a substantial space requirement. I'm very much into functional training, so I have some dumbbells, I've got a barbell, I've got a half squat rack, I've got box steps. For box steps, I've got a functional cable machine. We do a lot of suspension strap work. We do pull-ups, that sort of thing. There's loads that you can do with little equipment. So I tend to think if you're a functional based trainer, great. If you love your machines, probably not for you. What's been the biggest benefit of having your own gym space? Sense of achievement, really, to put my name on it. It's pride, the flexibility, the fact that it saved me a massive amount of money. I don't have that pressure of having to come up with the right money to pay the bills. I pay myself first, kind of thing, and the bills are subsidiary to that. I think that's been the biggest benefit. What would you say to someone thinking about setting up their own container or garden gym? Get some figures together, obviously listen to what I've said, do some research, make sure it's right for you, get some tentative locations, look at planning permission, get the permission from a local planning authority. So have a look at local planning authority guidelines, find a landlord, get some written permission from them, at the same time, design your space, get someone to help you, such as myself, design your space, have it spec'd out, find the funding, do the numbers, crunch the numbers, and compare it to a high street studio or an off high streets industrial estate place. What are the cost comparisons? How much profit can you make from one per month based on compared to the other? Do your figures, and if it works out, go for it. Cool. That's all for me. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope I've given a good account of what a container gym is like for myself, the energy coach.